America is full of urban legends, some creepy, some absurd, and some so ridiculous they have to be fake, except they aren't. A staircase in the woods that leads to nowhere, a road where invisible hands push your car, a lake that vanishes and refills itself. Sounds like fiction, but every single one of these has real evidence behind it. Today, we're diving into 101 US urban legends that sound completely fake, but are actually true. Let's get started. 1. In 1997, thousands of people saw something in the sky. A massive, silent V-shaped formation of lights glided over Arizona for hours. The military's response? Oh, those were just flares. Sure, because flares are known for flying in perfect synchronized patterns over an entire state. Even the former governor later admitted he believes it was extraterrestrial. So either it was aliens, or the most well-coordinated prank in history. 2. The Paulding Light has been appearing in Michigan's Upper Peninsula for over 60 years. A floating orb of light shows up on the same deserted road every single night. Scientists from Michigan Tech University tried to debunk it, suggesting distant car headlights. But locals say the light existed long before cars were invented. And even after the best explanations, the light still refuses to play by the rules. Want to test it yourself? Just drive out there, if you dare. 3. A staircase built by angels? That's what people call the Loreto Chapel staircase in New Mexico. It has no central support, no nails, and defies standard physics. Even modern engineers can't fully explain how it stands. The builder? A mysterious man who arrived, built it, and disappeared forever, without asking for payment. Coincidence? Maybe. But if that was just a regular carpenter, he deserves more than just a 5-star Yelp review. 4. Ever pick up a hitchhiker? Just make sure it's not Resurrection Mary. In Chicago, dozens of drivers have reported picking up a quiet young woman in a white dress, only for her to vanish as they pass the cemetery gates. Some believe she was a real woman killed in a car crash in the 1930s. Others say it's just an urban legend. But local police? They've received official reports of this happening for decades. 5. In 2014, clowns started appearing on roadsides. No one knows why. They weren't promoting a movie. They weren't part of a viral campaign. They just stood there, staring, holding balloons. Some had knives. Then, just as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. No arrests, no explanations, no closure. Just the eerie feeling that they might come back. 6. What's the worst military idea ever? How about strapping bombs to bats and hoping for the best? During World War II, the US military actually developed the bat bomb, a plan to release thousands of bats carrying tiny incendiary devices over enemy cities. The test run? A complete disaster. The bats burned down a US military base instead. So yeah, turns out bats don't take military orders well. 7. Some say a 7-foot reptilian creature lurks in South Carolina's swamps. The lizard man of Scape Ore Swamp was first reported in 1988 when a teenager claimed it attacked his car. Police dismissed it until more locals started reporting identical claw marks on their vehicles. Either it's a hoax that refuses to die, or South Carolina's alligators just got way more ambitious. 8. Imagine hiking in California's mountains and spotting a group of shadowy figures silently watching you. Congratulations! You've just met the Dark Watchers, mysterious humanoid shapes that appear on ridges, staring down at hikers before vanishing into thin air. Even John Steinbeck wrote about them. Paranormal entities, time travelers, park rangers with a weird sense of humor? You decide. 9. A cemetery in Colorado has a tombstone that glows at night. No artificial lights, no special materials, just a gravestone that mysteriously shines in the dark. Scientists say it's due to minerals, but locals believe it's a ghostly message from beyond. 10. Black-eyed children knock on doors at night, asking to be let in. Witnesses say they speak in a monotone voice and induce pure fear. Some who've encountered them have reported memory loss, illness, or worse. No one knows what happens if you let them in. Why? Because no one who has ever let them in has told the story. 11. There's an entire underground city beneath the Denver International Airport. Or at least, that's what conspiracy theorists claim. Why? Well, the airport went $2 billion over budget, has murals of post-apocalyptic chaos, and its runways form a swastika from above. Oh, and the dedication stone has a Freemason symbol. So yeah, totally normal airport stuff. 12. Two fishermen in Mississippi claimed they were abducted by aliens. But here's the part that gets weird. They passed polygraph tests, their stories never changed, and even the FBI got involved. The Pascagoula incident remains one of the most credible UFO abduction cases ever recorded. So either they were telling the truth, or they deserve an Oscar for best improv acting of all time. 13. A dinosaur in North Carolina? Sounds fake. Until National Geographic found massive three-toed footprints in the swamp. A man claimed he saw a 15-foot reptilian creature emerge from the water. Scientists say it was probably a big alligator. But, alligators don't usually walk on two legs. 14. There's a haunted mansion in St. Louis that was officially declared haunted by the government. The Lemp Mansion was once home to a wealthy brewing family, until a series of mysterious deaths and suicides turned it into one of America's most haunted places. Guests report cold hands touching them at night, whispers in empty rooms, and shadowy figures watching from doorways. And yes, it's actually listed as haunted in official city records. 15. The Bunny Man sounds like a bad slasher movie villain, except he's real. In the 1970s, Virginia residents reported being chased by a man in a rabbit suit wielding an axe. Police investigated and found multiple credible reports. Was it a hoax? A ghost? A very aggressive Easter enthusiast? No one knows. But to this day, the bridge where he was first spotted is called Bunnyman Bridge. And yes, people still claim to see him. 16. What if I told you there's a house in Utah that's technically older than the dinosaurs? Meet the Rock House, a home built inside a massive 200-million-year-old sandstone rock. It's been standing since the 1800s and even has electricity, plumbing, and Wi-Fi. So next time you complain about bad cell service, just remember, someone is literally getting 5G inside a prehistoric boulder. 17. In Nevada, there's a lake where something keeps pulling boats underwater. Pyramid Lake is home to a legend about water spirits that drag fishermen to their doom. Skeptics say it's just freak underwater currents. But then how do you explain the fact that the lake has an unusually high number of unexplained drownings, even among strong swimmers? 18. There's a radio station in the desert that no one controls. Known as UVB-76, this station constantly broadcasts an eerie buzzing sound, interrupted by occasional coded messages. No one knows who's behind it, why it exists, or who the messages are meant for. Some believe it's a Cold War-era military transmission that never got shut down. Others think it's something else. 19. A New Orleans cemetery has a tomb that never stays shut. The Voodoo Queen, Marie Laveau's crypt, is visited by thousands who claim to have seen her ghost walking between graves. Visitors leave offerings, draw X's on her tomb, and swear she grants wishes. But here's the creepy part. Every time her tomb has been sealed, it's mysteriously reopened within days. 20. Ever wanted to disappear? In Vermont, there's a place called the Bennington Triangle, where dozens of people have vanished without a trace. Hikers, students, even an entire stagecoach full of passengers, gone. No bodies, no clues, just empty footprints leading into the woods and stopping abruptly. Either this place has a portal, or someone really doesn't want visitors. 21. A Missouri town built a massive underground bunker, for no reason. In the 1960s, officials in Carthage, MO, spent millions constructing an enormous underground facility beneath the town. When asked why, they gave no real answer. To this day, no one knows its true purpose. You know, just normal small-town things. 22. In Kentucky, there's a cave so big it has its own weather. Mammoth Cave is the world's longest cave system, and it's so massive that clouds form inside it. It also has an entire lost river system that no one has fully explored. And if that's not weird enough, locals say they've heard ghostly whispers and footsteps coming from the depths. 23. A library in Indiana has a book that no one can check out. The Willard Library houses the Gray Lady, a ghost that's been spotted in the reading room since the 1930s. She doesn't cause trouble. She just appears, walks around, and then vanishes. Security cameras have caught unexplainable floating shapes, and ghost hunters swear the place is very active. Either she's haunting the library, or she's just really into books. 24. There's a house in Connecticut where the walls bleed. The Snedeker House, which inspired the movie The Haunting in Connecticut, was a former funeral home where residents reported walls leaking blood, shadow figures, and furniture moving on its own. Scientists investigated and couldn't debunk it. So, maybe don't book an Airbnb there. 25. A man in Georgia built an entire castle just to keep out ghosts. The Coral Castle was built by one man, Ed Leeds-Kalman, in total secrecy. He claimed he used ancient anti-gravity secrets to move massive stone blocks by himself, some weighing over 30 tons. The real kicker? No one ever saw him do it. To this day, engineers can't explain how he built it without machinery. 26. A town in Texas has been seeing the same ghostly lights for 140 years. The Marfa lights appear in the desert at night, floating, splitting apart, and moving against the wind. Scientists have tried to explain them as mirages or headlights, but locals saw them before cars even existed. So unless 1800s cowboys had Teslas, something weird is happening. 27. A military base in California has a phone number that calls back, even if no one answers. The Mojave phone booth was an abandoned payphone in the middle of the desert. People would call it just to see if anyone would pick up. But the weirdest part? Even when the line was dead, people would get calls from it. Who or what was dialing back? 28. Ever wonder what's hiding under Lake Superior? In 1977, sonar detected a massive metallic object sitting deep at the bottom of the lake. Divers tried to reach it, but currents and pressure made it impossible to explore fully. Theories range from a lost World War II submarine to an ancient crashed UFO. Whatever it is, it's still down there. 29. A forest in Maryland has a bridge that makes people disappear. The Crybaby Bridge legend says that if you stop your car on the bridge at night, you'll hear a baby crying. Some say footsteps appear around your car, while others claim people have vanished for hours and reappeared with no memory of what happened. Best part? There's more than one Crybaby Bridge in the US, and all of them have similar stories. 30. A famous hotel in Colorado inspired one of the greatest horror movies ever. The Stanley Hotel is where Stephen King stayed before writing The Shining. He claimed to have seen ghostly children running down the halls and felt an overwhelming presence watching him. Today, guests report hearing piano music from empty rooms, furniture moving, and laughter when no one's around. So if you ever book a room there, maybe sleep with the lights on. 31. There's a grave in Indiana with a literal anti-ghost cage around it. The Highland Lawn Cemetery has a tomb known as the Caged Grave, where an iron fence was built directly over the burial site. Why? Some say it was to keep grave robbers out, but locals claim it was to keep something inside. Would you want to be buried in a place where people were worried you'd come back? 32. A house in Ohio is so haunted, it has a warning sign outside. The Poasttown Elementary School was shut down decades ago, but people claim it's still full of activity. Visitors report hearing school bells ring at night, voices whispering their names, and even phantom footsteps running down hallways. But hey, at least these ghosts seem committed to education. 33. In Alaska, there's a lake where people keep vanishing. Lake Iliamna is home to reports of giant, silver-scaled creatures that tip over boats and drag people underwater. Scientists think it might just be a population of massive, undiscovered fish. But locals, they're convinced it's a prehistoric sea monster that's been there for centuries. 34. There's a grave in Colorado that's covered in bricks, and no one's allowed to remove them. The story goes that a man buried there was so evil, the town literally tried to lock his soul inside the grave. Even today, when workers tried to restore the cemetery and move the bricks, bad things started happening, and they stopped immediately. Lesson learned. Don't mess with the dead. 35. A man in Florida once claimed his backyard was a portal to another dimension. Sounds ridiculous, right? until he filmed objects disappearing into thin air. Scientists dismissed it, but locals reported strange lights and missing pets around the area. Whether it's a portal or just Florida being Florida, we may never know. 36. A lonely stretch of road in Arkansas is famous for its ghostly hitchhiker. People claim to have picked up a woman in an old-fashioned dress, only for her to vanish mid-ride. Here's the twist. Her description has never changed in over 50 years. Either multiple generations are pranking drivers, or someone never made it home. 37. An abandoned hospital in Texas still has its call lights flickering, despite having no power for years. The Yorktown Memorial Hospital was once a rehab center, but after closing, it became infamous for shadowy figures in the halls, disembodied voices, and flashing lights in empty rooms. If the ghosts are still working, do they at least get paid overtime? 38. A river in California runs blood red once a year. No, it's not a biblical plague. It's a natural phenomenon caused by red algae blooms in the water. But before science could explain it, locals believed it was a sign of an ancient curse, warning them not to drink from the river. Honestly, if my water suddenly turned red, I wouldn't need a legend to tell me not to drink it. 39. A church in Tennessee was abandoned overnight, and no one knows why. Everything inside was left untouched. Bibles still open on pews, candles melted down, even communion cups still full. There's no record of why the congregation left, and to this day, no one has dared to start services there again. 40. People in Massachusetts say there's a hidden chamber beneath the city that no one can find. Rumors of a massive underground tunnel system beneath Boston have existed for centuries. While some tunnels have been found, others remain completely unconfirmed. But construction workers keep finding bricked-up passageways that lead to nowhere. Who built them? And what were they hiding? 41. A grave in Louisiana is famous for being unbreakable. A woman named Julia Brown was a local healer who predicted her own death, saying, "When I die, I'm taking the town with me." The day she passed, a massive hurricane wiped out the entire area. To this day, her grave has been sealed with chains and cement because, just in case. 42. There's a lighthouse in North Carolina that won't stay dark. The Cape Hatteras Lighthouse was decommissioned years ago, but people still see its light flickering at night. Park rangers claim it's just a trick of the moonlight, but locals say the lighthouse keeper never left his post, even after death. 43. A small town in Montana has a statue that always knows when someone is about to die. Locals claim that a statue in their cemetery weeps tears before a funeral is held. Scientists say it's just condensation from weather changes. But then why has it only ever cried the night before someone dies? 44. In Arizona, there's a town where cars roll uphill on their own. At Gravity Hill, if you put your car in neutral, it will start rolling uphill instead of down. Scientists say it's just an optical illusion, but that doesn't explain why even water flows the wrong way on the hill. 45. A Florida park has a tree that screams when you cut it. The Devil's Tree in Oak Hammock Park is rumored to be cursed, and every attempt to cut it down has ended in disaster. Chainsaws mysteriously stop working. People report hearing faint screaming sounds from inside the trunk, and several workers even refuse to touch it. Maybe just leave it alone? 46. In Georgia, there's a mailbox that sends letters to the afterlife. No joke. People leave handwritten messages in the angel mailbox on a remote beach, believing their words will reach lost loved ones. It's been happening for decades, and no one knows who first started it. Either ghosts have a solid postal service, or someone out there has a really big collection of unsent letters. 47. There's a house in New Jersey with a door that won't stay locked. The owners of the Spy House claim they've locked and sealed the door hundreds of times, but it always mysteriously unlocks itself. Some say it's the ghost of an old sea captain refusing to leave. Others think the house is just really bad at following security protocols. 48. A town in Oregon once had a chicken as its official mayor. Meet Mayor Cluck, a proud poultry politician who won a small-town election by a landslide. He spent his term attending events, taking photos with voters, and proving that, honestly, he was probably more qualified than a few real politicians. 49. In Minnesota, there's a floating island that moves around the lake on its own. It's called Spirit Island, and it literally drifts across the water, sometimes vanishing for weeks before reappearing. Scientists say it's just a chunk of floating vegetation, but locals swear it has a mind of its own. Maybe it's just trying to find better real estate. 50. A guy in Texas built a UFO landing pad. Just in case. In the 1970s, a man named Carl built a massive concrete platform labeled UFO Welcome Center in his backyard, convinced that aliens would need a safe place to land. So far, no extraterrestrials have taken him up on the offer. But hey, better safe than sorry. 51. A graveyard in Vermont has a window built into a tomb. Why? So the man buried inside could keep an eye on the town. The grave, known as the windowed tomb, features a glass panel where visitors can peer inside and see the coffin. Nothing weird about that. Nothing weird at all. 52. A Florida hotel has a phone in the lobby that only dials one number, and no one knows where it goes. The hotel staff swear they don't know who's on the other end, but if you pick it up, a voice answers. It never says who it is, only that it's been waiting for your call. So, anyone up for a quick vacation to Florida? 53. A giant ball of twine in Kansas has its own festival. The Cocker City Twine Ball is over 13 feet tall and weighs nearly 20,000 pounds, all made from thousands of feet of twine. Every year, people gather to add more to it, making sure it remains the largest twine ball in the world. Because, priorities. 54. A town in California has banned wearing high heels. Carmel by the Sea passed the law to prevent people from tripping on uneven sidewalks. But don't worry, if you really want to wear heels, you can apply for a special high heel permit. Yes, that's a real thing. 55. A man in Ohio built a castle by himself, just because he felt like it. Loveland Castle was constructed brick by a single man named Harry Andrews over 50 years. Why? He just thought Ohio needed more castles. Respect. 56. A town in Pennsylvania has a fire that's been burning underground since 1962. Centralia, PA sits on top of a coal mine fire that no one can put out. The town was evacuated decades ago, but the fire is still going strong. Scientists estimate it could keep burning for another 250 years. That's longer than most relationships. 57. In Nevada, there's a giant stone alien face in the desert. Known as the Nevada geoglyph, this enormous carving looks eerily like a classic gray alien face, visible only from the air. It's unclear who made it or why, but whoever it was, they really wanted to impress someone flying over. 58. There's a law in Alabama that forbids carrying an ice cream cone in your back pocket. Sounds dumb, right? But apparently, horse thieves used to place ice cream in their pockets to lure horses away without technically stealing them. Lawmakers didn't appreciate the loophole. 59. A bridge in Nebraska plays music when you drive over it. The Melody Road Bridge was designed with special grooves that cause car tires to play a song as they drive across. Imagine explaining to your friends that your car just played Happy Birthday to you. 60. A town in Washington has a haunted soda machine that dispenses mystery drinks. No one knows who restocks Seattle's mystery soda machine, but it randomly dispenses discontinued sodas that aren't sold anywhere else. Even better, the buttons are all labeled with question marks. If a ghost is running this, at least it has great taste in beverages. 61. Ever wanted to send a postcard from space? Well, technically you can. There's a mailbox at the top of Pikes Peak, Colorado, one of the highest post offices in the world. Hikers can drop in letters, and yes, the mail actually gets delivered. Just don't expect next-day shipping. 62. A town in Kentucky buried an entire train, and no one knows why. In 1926, a fully functional steam locomotive was driven into a pit and covered with dirt. The town never explained it, and it's still buried there today. Either it was a failed subway system or someone really hated trains. 63. The White House has a secret underground tunnel system. Officially, there's just one bunker under the White House. Unofficially, declassified documents suggest miles of tunnels leading to unknown locations. Who uses them? Where do they go? Well, that's classified. 64. In Idaho, there's an island full of snakes. It's called Snake Island, and guess what? It's completely off limits to humans, not because it's dangerous, but because it's a federally protected snake sanctuary. So yeah, if you ever get stranded there, good luck. 65. Somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains, there's a staircase in the woods that leads to nothing. Hikers have reported finding perfectly intact staircases deep in the forest, miles from any ruins or structures. No one knows who built them, why they're there, or what happens if you climb them. But hey, maybe don't test it. 66. A guy in Oregon once turned a Boeing 727 into his actual home. When his old house got boring, he just bought a decommissioned plane and parked it in the forest. Full plumbing, electricity, and yes, he sleeps in the cockpit. No flight attendants, though. 67. There's a giant metal ball in Arizona that no one can move. The mystery sphere in Phoenix has been sitting in the same spot for decades. People have tried pushing it, pulling it, even using heavy machinery, but it won't budge. Either it's the world's most stubborn decoration, or someone accidentally installed an alien artifact. 68. A town in Michigan has a frozen corpse that gets taken out once a year for a festival. The Frozen Dead Guy Days in Netherlands, Colorado, yes really, celebrates the preserved body of Brito Morstel, who's been cryogenically frozen since the 80s. The event includes a coffin race, frozen turkey bowling, and a parade in his honor. Talk about dedication. 69. In Nevada, there's a wall that whispers when you stand next to it. The Whispering Wall at the Hoover Dam carries sound from one side to the other, over 300 feet away. Say something in a whisper, and someone on the other side will hear it as if you were standing right next to them. Science? Magic? Either way, it's a great way to freak people out. 70. A Florida beach has a singing sand dune. The sand at Siesta Key Beach makes a high-pitched squeaking sound when you walk on it. Scientists say it's because of the shape of the sand grains. But let's be real. It's way more fun to believe the beach is just trying to communicate. 71. A lake in Oregon disappears once a year, then refills itself. Lost Lake drains completely every spring, vanishing into a hole at the bottom. Then, a few months later, it refills itself. Scientists say it's connected to an underground lava tube. Personally, I think Oregon just wanted to one-up the Bermuda Triangle. 72. There's a bridge in Texas that's haunted by phantom donkeys. Yes, donkeys. According to legend, a group of miners' donkeys drowned there in the 1800s, and now people hear hooves clopping and braying sounds at night. If you ever cross that bridge, maybe bring some carrots, just in case. 73. A river in Montana is so clear, it looks like boats are floating in midair. The Flathead River is so crystal clear that people standing on boats look like they're hovering over nothing. It's also home to some of the cleanest water in the US, which is probably why even the fish there look extra smug. 74. There's a post office inside a tree in California. The Redwood Post Office is a hollowed-out tree trunk that actually functioned as an official post office for years. Locals used it to send mail, proving once again that Americans will turn literally anything into a mailbox. 75. A Nebraska town once held a funeral for a 50-year-old frozen hamburger. Seymour, the 50-year-old McDonald's burger, had been kept frozen for decades and was shockingly still intact. When the owner decided to finally part ways with it, the town held a full memorial service, complete with eulogies and a "Rest in Grease" headstone. Some people keep family heirlooms. Nebraska? They keep cheeseburgers. 76. In Arizona, there's a massive underground pyramid that nobody talks about. Hidden beneath the town of Rock Point is an enormous step pyramid structure built by an unknown civilization. It's real. Archaeologists have studied it. But the mystery? No one knows who built it, when, or why it was abandoned. Some believe it predates Native American tribes. Others think it's connected to something, not from Earth. 77. A statue in Oklahoma is known for crying real tears. Visitors at the Sacred Heart Mission swear they've seen moisture forming under the statue's eyes. Some claim it's condensation. Others say it's a divine message. Either way, it's doing a better job at showing emotion than some people. 78. A town in Maine buried a time capsule in 1905, then forgot where they put it. It was supposed to be opened a century later, but by the time 2005 rolled around, no one had any clue where it was. Somewhere, under a random patch of grass, there's a box full of century-old secrets. 79. The world's largest frying pan is in Delaware. Why? No one really knows. But it's 10 feet wide, weighs over 1,000 pounds, and has actually been used to cook thousands of chicken dinners at festivals. If aliens ever invade, at least Delaware is prepared to make them an extra-large breakfast. 80. A town in Indiana has an annual race with toilets. The Renegade Toilet Bowl races feature people riding fully decorated toilet carts down a hill. It started as a joke, but now it's a serious local competition. Whoever said racing is expensive clearly never strapped wheels to a toilet. 81. In a California park, there's a tree that looks like it's screaming. The crying tree in Big Sur has a natural knot formation that makes it appear as if it has a human face mid-scream. People say the illusion changes based on the lighting. Science says it's just a tree. Either way, it's probably seen some things. 82. A man in Texas legally changed his name to they just to confuse people. He figured that way whenever someone said, "They told me," it would technically be true. The best part? He actually got away with it. 83. There's a canyon in Utah where whispers follow you. Known as the Whispering Gallery, even the softest sounds bounce off the rock walls and return as eerie, disembodied voices. Scientists call it an acoustic phenomenon. Visitors just call it creepy. 84. A town in Vermont once had a festival dedicated entirely to cheese rolling. The tradition involved people chasing giant wheels of cheese down a steep hill, but it had to be shut down after too many injuries. Because apparently, death by cheese was becoming a serious risk. 85. Somewhere in the US, there's a post office that only serves mules. Deep in the Grand Canyon, the Supai post office is so remote that mail is delivered by mule trains instead of trucks. It's the only place in the country where animals still officially handle the mail. The real question is, do they get overtime? 86. A woman in Florida built a mansion for her pet chickens. Not just a coop, a full-on luxury chicken palace complete with chandeliers, a fountain, and air conditioning. Her reasoning? They deserve it. Somewhere, a regular person is struggling to pay rent, and a chicken is living in a mansion. 87. A highway in New Mexico has a road sign warning about UFOs. Near Roswell, there's an actual yellow caution sign with a flying saucer on it. Whether it's a joke or a serious warning depends on how much you trust the government. 88. An Ohio town once declared war on Canada. In 1835, the town of Toledo went to war with Canada over a border dispute. No one actually fought, but they did hold a parade pretending it was a military victory. Canada, being Canada, just ignored them. 89. A statue in Kentucky is rumored to turn its head at midnight. The Black Angel of Oak Hill Cemetery has creeped out visitors for over a century. Some claim they've seen it slowly shift its gaze. Others say it's an optical illusion. Either way, it's not a great place for a midnight stroll. 90. A bridge in California was built specifically for squirrels. City planners noticed that too many squirrels were getting hit by cars, so they built a tiny suspension bridge just for them. The squirrels, being squirrels, ignored it completely. But hey, at least someone tried. 91. A town in Michigan once woke up to thousands of frozen frogs. No, it wasn't a prank. Residents found frogs literally flash-frozen mid-hop after a freak ice storm. Scientists say it was due to rapid temperature drops. Locals say it was the most hardcore game of freeze tag ever. 92. A Wisconsin restaurant has been serving the same pot of soup since the 1960s. Every day, they just add more ingredients to the same pot and keep it simmering. It's called perpetual soup, and honestly, at this point, it's probably more legend than food. 93. A mailbox in Georgia is rumored to grant wishes. The Kindred Spirit mailbox sits alone on a beach, where visitors leave letters, dreams, and secrets. No one knows who collects them, but people swear their wishes come true. Either it's magic, or the world's most wholesome mail fraud. 94. There's a town in Pennsylvania where it's illegal to sleep on a refrigerator. No, really. The law specifically bans sleeping on a fridge outdoors. Indoors? Totally fine. No word on what incident made this necessary, but I have questions. 95. A South Carolina island is ruled by wild monkeys. Hundreds of monkeys roam Morgan Island, and it's completely off-limits to humans. The government put them there for research, but no one really talks about what kind. Whatever is happening, it's the Monkeys Island now. 96. A Colorado town has a UFO watchtower, and it actually gets visitors. People claim the San Luis Valley has the most UFO sightings in the US, so someone built a literal tower just for spotting them. Skeptics laugh until they see something strange in the sky. 97. A town in Alaska has a mayor that's been in office for over 20 years, and he's a cat. Mayor Stubbs, a fluffy orange feline, ruled Talkeetna for 2 decades, attending events and greeting tourists. His approval rating? Higher than most human politicians. 98. A Nevada desert has a rock that moves on its own. At Racetrack Playa, giant stones leave trails behind them, as if they slid across the ground by themselves. Scientists eventually discovered they move when the ground freezes and strong winds push them. But before that, people thought the rocks were alive. 99. An entire town in New Mexico disappeared overnight. In the 1930s, an established settlement called Dawson vanished without a trace. No people, no buildings, just gone. Officially, the town shut down due to mining issues. Unofficially, locals claim something happened that the history books won't admit. 100. A bridge in Washington is covered in shoes, and no one knows why. Hundreds of sneakers dangle from the Shoe Tree Bridge, and people keep adding more. Some say it's a tradition. Others claim it started when someone threw a pair up there for luck. Either way, it's the strangest footwear donation system ever. 101. A rock in California has been singing for 10,000 years. The ringing rock in Joshua Tree produces a bell-like sound when struck. Something scientists say is due to its unique mineral structure. But the best part? No one can move it. Other rocks from the same location lose their sound when relocated, as if the rock only sings where it wants to. So, after all that, still think urban legends are just made-up stories? Because we've just proven 101 times that reality is way stranger than fiction. Which one blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it this far, you officially know too much. Might as well hit like before they come for you.